After 3 seasons of Stranger Things, the origin of the Upside Down continues to remain a mystery. But there are definitely some interesting theories that have made their way around the internet regarding how this dark dimension came to be. These theories also tie together some clues from previous seasons, forming the basis for some very intriguing speculation. In this video, I'd like to talk about what I think is one of the more fascinating theories regarding the origins of the Upside Down, and that is the possibility that this dark realm is actually a creation of the young Will Byers. The Upside Down is an alternate dimension existing in parallel to the human world. It contains many of the same elements of the real world, including the same buildings, houses, cars, and trees. The difference is that in the Upside Down, these things all appear to be in decay, with biological membranes and other substances covering practically every surface. The environment in this realm is eternally dark, with ashes and spores floating in the air. Most, if not all, flora and fauna which exist in this world are linked together in a hive mind controlled by the Mind Flayer. The idea that the Upside Down might have been created by Will Byers gained a lot of traction in a Reddit post last year. User points to Will's creativity and artistic talent, but also the fact that Hawkins is really all he knows. Because of this, it makes sense that Will could have drawn and written about Hawkins a lot when he was younger. A point that has been emphasized in the show is the fact that all Will wants to do with his friends is play Dungeons & Dragons, where he could effectively escape into a world inside his imagination. In this theory, the creation of the Upside Down would have actually happened when Will's father, Lonnie, was around. Perhaps Lonnie volunteered his son for experimentation at the Hawkins lab without Joyce's knowledge.
Happy gay month, cause you know you gay and stuff.
Okay, thank you.
He got your gay balloon cause it's got all the colors cause it's gay.
Okay.
And I got Skittles cause it got a rainbow on it.
Okay.
And I got your cookie cake. It says, be who you are for your pride.
Thanks. This is my Pride Month. Why did you do this? Why are you doing this?
What? Cause you gay.
Through this experimentation, it's speculated that Will could have at one time had powers similar to 11, being able to bring his imagination to life. Considering his proclivity for creating and exploring other rich, multi-layered fantasy worlds, it's not hard to understand how a young child could quickly populate a nightmare dimension containing monsters, the likes of which are also found in Dungeons & Dragons. So effectively, Will's involvement in creating the Upside Down could be the reason why the creatures and elements of the world so closely resemble those of his favorite game. However, just like what happened to 11 at the end of Season 3, after creating the Upside Down, his powers could have been drained or disappeared altogether. In this theory, there of course would need to be an explanation as to why Will doesn't remember these events. This could be either because it was all done subconsciously, or perhaps because his memory was altered by the scientists at Hawkins' lab. The elements I find most interesting about this theory is how it would help to explain some of the oddities with Will we've seen throughout the show. For instance, Will was the only other person apart from 11 to encounter the Demigorgon alone and survive. Usually, any other person who ran into the Demigorgon would meet their demise. A reason for Will's survival could be that the world of the Upside Down sees him as a god, being their creator, and as such they don't wish him harm or perhaps are even working to protect him. This is all corroborated by the fact that Will is repeatedly targeted by the Upside Down throughout the course of the show. This also could serve to explain why Will is trapped in a cocoon-like nest with a tentacle down his throat when Hopper finds him in the Upside Down. Considering that the atmosphere in this dimension is not safe for humans, it could be that the monsters of this realm were trying to keep him alive, or perhaps were working to convert him into one of them so that he could stay there forever. What lends some credence to this is the fact that Will didn't actually stop breathing until after the tentacle was removed. In the show, the doctor says that it was slowly killing him, but it could still be the case that the monsters were acting to protect him, trying to keep him alive, or change him so that he could continue to survive in that environment. Another piece of evidence that was presented in the post to lend credence to this theory is the fact that while at the Hawkins lab, Will is describing what he feels and what the monster feels. He specifically says that the monster wants to kill everyone else except for him, and it's notable that when Will is possessed, his temperature is at a point that should be lethal, but he doesn't die because the Mind Flayer was keeping him alive. At the end of Season 3, the Byers family, along with Eleven, are seen leaving Hawkins behind in an effort to start a new life. If this theory about Will's connection to the Upside Down turns out to be true, it could be very interesting to see what the Mind Flayer and the creatures of the Upside Down might do in order to bring him back. It could be that ultimately, since the Upside Down is a world of Will's creation, that he might be the key in closing it off or destroying it once and for all. In Season 4 of Stranger Things, one of the settings in which filming is taking place is that of a psychiatric hospital. This is where 2 of the new cast members will originate in the show. Most notably, this is where they will introduce the legendary Robert Englund, who is set to play Victor Creel, a disturbed and intimidating man who is in prison there. It could be that if Will continues to be tormented by his connection to the Upside Down, perhaps this is where the setting of the psychiatric hospital will be introduced. We don't know too many more details about where this hospital is located, whether in Hawkins or in the town where the Byers have relocated. But if it is the latter, perhaps Joyce takes Will to this hospital to get psychiatric help or testing to help him deal with this trauma as his nightmares get worse. This is all pure speculation at this point, but it's interesting to think about where this all could be heading. Either way, it could be interesting to see how this dark dimension could work to reach Will and bring him home if this theory turns out to be true. In a statement regarding Season 4, the series creators Matt and Ross Duffer said that next season, we will see a new horror is beginning to surface, something long buried, something that connects everything. It would be fascinating to find out whether or not this new horror has anything to do with the Upside Down, or whether or not it is also controlled by the Mind Flayer, perhaps attempting to locate and capture Will once again.